Old World, Florida. Dr. Narco Longo.
Brought to you by the Florida Department of Magic.
Welcome to Old World, Florida. Dr. Narco Longo.
Brought to you by the Florida Department of Magic. Welcome to Florida, baby.
Florida is the original Garden of Eden.
Florida has the highest concentration of freshwater springs in the world.
Florida oranges are the golden apples of mythology. A race of giant men once roamed this peninsula. The Smithsonian can suck my balls.
Florida is littered with many ancient megalithic ship anchors, known as Saxor stones.
I'm bringing Saxon back.
Noah's Ark was constructed out of gopher wood. Gopher wood only grows one place in the world, Florida. Florida is the birthplace of the United States. The first Thanksgiving was in Florida. Let the black drink flow.
Orange man good. Click his way out of Florida.
What's up, everyone? Oh, hang on. Gotta change some settings here. There we go. Looks better. Okay. Should be ready to go. There's Merlin.
What up?
So happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to the Casting Couch Astrology podcast. Man, are we going to have some fun tonight. This one, I think we're actually going to be doing a lot of teaching, and I think you guys will get a lot out of it as far as learning how to do your own chart and stuff like that. But go check out our previous episodes of this podcast, Casting Couch Astrology. We talked about the animals, the rulerships, and what else?
Modalities, the elements, the sub-elements.
Exactly.
Symbolism in general. Yeah.
Bingo. And we're going full steam ahead, okay? No signs of slowing down. We've got plenty of topics, plenty of good, juicy topics. In fact, they're so good, I almost feel bad kind of going over the basics because of how deep we're going to go eventually. But this one is something that everyone can learn from. And it's one that I feel like people need to hear, because here working at a bookstore where we have a nice big astrology section, I hear a lot of people say things like, oh, well, my Saturn is in Sagittarius, so I just kind of like to play it safe when I'm traveling, or, oh, I don't like to travel, or, someone told me not to travel because I have Saturn in Sagittarius. Or someone will say, oh, yeah, my Uranus is in Aries, so I'm such a genius. I get hit on the head with all these genius ideas. And they're not applying the slow-moving planets in the proper way. And you can really fool yourself and kind of get a lot of, false positive readings by thinking like that. So that's the impetus for this show is I feel like people need this information. And the information is houses versus the signs. So we've already talked about the signs a lot. So we're going to be focusing on the houses. And the houses are important because, well, okay, we won't go too deep at first. But Merlin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Hope you are as well. I'm pretty excited. This is, like you said, an absolutely just a great topic, because if you're a beginner astrologer or you're new to the subject, you're going to get a ton out of it. If you're intermediate, you're going to get a ton out of it. And even if you're somewhat of an expert astrologer, you'll probably learn something new. It's going to be a really cool topic. Yeah, it's going to be a great stream, I think.
100%. And so you kind of agree, you ever see people like misusing the planets, or kind of they don't really understand how the speed of the planets really determines or, tells you whether you want to focus on the sign or the house.
Right.
And that's, go ahead. Yeah.
No, yeah, and like a lot of people, once they learn the house system, and or just generally the significations of the houses, a lot of astrology really clicks. It's a big thing to lock things into place for understanding charts on a holistic level, I think.
Yeah. So, guys, the topic tonight is the houses of astrology and the planetary cycles. And kind of like I said already, like we both said, the houses and the signs are kind of the same, but they're kind of different. And you need to know which one to use or what they're each telling individually, right? So the second half of this, the planetary cycles, is kind of the answer to that. The planet, how fast the planets move through each sign of the zodiac will largely determine whether you should be focusing on the house placement or the sign placement. So just right off the bat, slower moving planets, especially slower than the sun, you really want to focus on the house placement. With faster moving planets, you really want to focus on the sign placement. And we'll get into that, but that's kind of going to be kind of the connection there that we're going to be making is houses and signs. We're going to tell you why they're different, why they're kind of the same, and then we're going to talk about the planetary cycles and how you can know which one to use. Before we get too deep into it, I'd like to say what's up to all you guys. So if you'd like a shout out, drop a tangerine in the chat and we'll do a little roll call, shout you guys out. And so while they load up their tangerines or their oranges, what's in the works for you, or what have you released recently, Merlin?
Oh, so I just released a video actually on Elon Musk. I don't know how some people have slept on this, but he claimed to be the one of the top Diablo players in the world, which is so crazy. It's just ridiculous. And then like he went on figuring, like he was on Joe Rogan, like, oh, I'm a top gamer, I'm a top gamer. And obviously he's not, because anyone as busy as he is or as he claims to be cannot compete in multiplayer video games with fucking unemployed people who are just like playing games 24/7. And
Yep.
like he went and played this game called Path of Exile 2, or had someone play it for him and got totally exposed on stream. This was like 10 months ago. But I kind of tied it into like, do you think that's all he's lying about? Do you think it's just video games he's lying about? Or maybe
Yeah.
something else is a little bit fishy? So
Yeah,
it's a fun video, I think.
No, totally. Everything that man touches is suspect. Okay.
Yeah. Electric
Remember,
cars.
just like that you're talking about, have you ever seen the video where he's showing this YouTuber the engine of like the space rocket or like the booster? He's like, yeah, so like that's where we blah blah blah, this and that. And then the YouTuber goes, well, wouldn't it make sense to use non-corrosive fuel in the booster? And that, like, he just like throws something out there, and Elon's like, oh well, okay, wow, he's like, wow, I think we're actually going to incorporate that into the design. He's like, wow, that's actually genius. He just had no idea. Like he was out of his element. Like, this guy knew what he was talking about. This YouTuber knew more about the thing than the so-called genius.
Yep.
And yeah,
And then
PayPal is a whole fake construction, planted, false, all orchestrated from above or outside. It's not PayPal. The whole thing is fishy.
Yeah, and you could see his old hair. His hair is probably a little bit fake too. You saw that old hairline before he got the money. And yeah,
Right.
dude, like whenever he gets caught in these lies or he gets caught like slipping, the sycophants just like defend him and go, oh my gosh, he listened to a YouTuber. Do you see how humble Elon Musk is? How adaptable he is? And it's like, dude, do you see how shallow and hollow he is, maybe? And fake he is? Do we see that perhaps? No, I guess we don't, It's crazy, man. Let's hit some shout outs.
Yeah. We got Zilero Morales. Good to see you. The Crow says yes. I think that's right. The crow says yes. Yeah. Good to see you. Hi, Sherry.
And yeah, the chat's right. That was a good Musk impression, bro.
It was okay. I need a lot of work on that. To do a Elon Musk impression, I'd have to chop my nose off and have a underdeveloped snub nose. Okay.
Just be somewhere way deeper on the spectrum too.
Rock and Rolla 88. Good to see you. Yeah, we're not big fans of Elon Musk here, guys, by the way. Scribbles. Good to see you. Ben's new drop was fire. That's a good comment. Hell yeah. Shout out to Ben. Dr. Longo now also provides gynecology exams. That's true. That's true. I only accept Obamacare though. So
Shout
hi Narco, hi Merlin.
The Atlantean.
Hey Scribbles. Puzzle Cop. Good to see you. You're throwing a little music too. Shit, fucking vibes are stale as hell in here.
Elon sucks big sniz.
Night Slight. Good to see you.
Shout out, good astrologer.
Derek, what's up? Vintage.
Shout out Tiger Lily. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Tiger Lily, what's up? Dragon, que pasa? Higher Magnitude, what's up?
Rock and Rolla, what's up?
Pinecone Bliss. Oscar can't talk. Oscar can talk.
Sure can.
Who else we got? Already got
Bodhi Guya. What a
True Earth Norseman. Hell yeah. What's up? Fire name.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's most of them. Nate's, good to see you. All right, we got 200 in the chat. Thanks to everyone for being here. And let's do some astrology. Also, let's talk about this real quick. Who else saw Santos Bonacci's doing a actors series? I just want all you guys out there to vouch. For those who remember, we said we were going to do an actor movie. That's like the casting element of this. It's like the casting couch, play on words with casting a chart, casting a zodiac, whatever, like casting actors. So we're going to do that. We're going to get to that. He didn't steal our idea, definitely not. But maybe great minds think alike. Maybe that's what happened. But his stuff is always good. Go check out Santos Bonacci's new series on the actors. But we'll be doing our own too eventually. So, all right, man. Houses and the planetary cycles. The houses of astrology are modeled after the signs. There's 12 houses because there's 12 signs. The first house, here, let's go to your visuals. Nice.
Do you want to put us to the side so they can see the whole thing?
Totally. Good idea. When you see an astrology chart, hopefully you're using a circle chart. I like circle charts. I don't like the table charts. They're not intuitive. I like the circle chart because it's nice and easy to visualize. I like to tell people sometimes you're born right in the middle of that chart. And if you look dead east, if you look at 9 o'clock, that's the horizon. And yep, exactly. Yeah. You can almost lay this flat in your lap, aim it east, and that is the horizon. Horus rising, where the sun rises. Yep. Now, there's 12 houses, and there's 12 signs. But don't get confused. The houses are modeled after the signs, but the houses can change size a little bit. The signs always stay the same size. So the houses can adjust for time of year and latitude. The signs never change. Don't listen to anyone who says the signs change size or place or arrangement or anything, blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. But the houses can, depending on the house system you're using. So we're going to have to talk about the house systems a little bit. I like to use Placidus system. It takes into account latitude and time of year, but like season. But some say that it overcorrects, right? So in some areas, like in the north, your houses can be like all shriveled up to one side and it can be a mess. You don't get that intuitive type of universal approach to astrology, right? So it fixes some things, but some would argue that it over adjusts, overcorrects, and you lose the intuitive element. And Merlin likes to use another system, or he uses multiple, I think. But yeah. Merlin, give us your spiel on the houses, and which one do you use? Which system?
Sure. So right now I've been pretty much into Regiomontanus for a bit because it's primarily used for horary astrology, which I've been deeply into. But also whole sign houses have a lot of merit just with general accuracy. If you're looking at horoscopic astrology, which is your daily horoscope, that uses whole sign houses, and you want to use your ascendant for your horoscope typically, and that will get you a more accurate horoscope if you're getting good horoscopic astrology. Your newspaper rag and your local newspaper, probably not good horoscopic astrology, but there are some YouTubers who do some good horoscopic astrology using whole sign houses. And the difference between what Longo uses, which is Placidus, it's more time-based, whereas Regiomontanus is more geometrical, based on the shape of the Earth and the distance and whatnot. So they're pretty similar. But then whole sign houses, the sign is the house. Those are 30 degrees always, just like the signs. But for Placidus and Regiomontanus and most others, the signs, or the houses rather, do change in size depending on the seasons.
Yep. Good points. Now, so house system, just realize that can change where some planets are in your chart. That's why we bring it up. Now, if you live near kind of not too close to the North Pole, if you live in kind of the temperate zone of like New York down to Florida, your house information probably won't change that much. It can, which is why we're mentioning it. But Placidus, I really like. Whole sign's more of a traditional thing. From what I've learned so far, whole sign's more traditional because you want to be able to pick up a piece of paper and cast a chart anywhere. And how many things do you really need to compute? It can be tough, right? Trying to adjust house sizes and things like that. So if you don't want to mess around with it, I'd say whole sign or Placidus are the safer bets. Or, in Merlin, I don't know much at all about the system you're talking about. But I wouldn't get too worried about the house system you're using. People out there.
Oh yeah, don't.
Yeah. Just be careful. Just know that if you're using a house system and you have a planet on a cusp, it might be worth looking at another house system to see if that system places your planet in another house.
But just to be clear for those watching, Placidus is by far the most popular system, and then whole sign, and then other house systems. So, like, if you're new to astrology, Placidus is a safe bet, whole sign's a safe bet. Learn those two first, and then dabble into other stuff if you want to. My humble opinion.
Cool. Yeah, agreed. So I'm going to be speaking as if we're using Placidus. It's not going to affect too much, but just notice that we're looking at pretty much a whole sign, a whole house chart right now. A Placidus chart can be scrunched a little bit. Some houses can be smaller, some houses can be bigger, and other house systems are like that too. But if you guys like me, if you want to follow what I do, use a circle chart, go to astrotheme.com and use Placidus system. That's how you do a chart exactly like how I would do one. Astrotheme.com. I'll type it in the chat. That's my favorite astrology website. So, the houses. There's 12 houses. And what are the houses? The houses, the way I like to explain them to people or visualize them is like this. When you're looking out at the stars, it's not exactly, because we're actually talking about the ecliptic a little bit, but when you're looking out at the stars, that is the signs of the zodiac, more or less. And that's a topic for another time. When we know whether the signs are the actual zodiac themselves, we'll talk about that another time. But for the sake of visualization and for the sake of differentiating the houses from the signs, look out at the stars, and that's essentially the zodiac. But when you are looking at the stars, you have to look out over the horizon. Now that horizon, like we're saying, is marking the number one spot on the houses, the first house. Now this isn't necessarily true, like, I don't know, geometrically, I don't know. But when you're looking out at the horizon, imagine that you're looking all the way around the horizon. You have 360 degrees and you can chop the horizon up into 12 equal sections all around you. Now those sections are on the earth, right? They're not moving. And the way this actually works is you're actually kind of chopping it over your head. That's the actual kind of arc everything's taking. But for the sake of visualization, imagine that the houses are the horizon all around you, 360 degrees. And you're chopping those 360 degrees into 12 sections. Now, since those 12 sections are stuck on the horizon, they don't move. That's like the part of the Jeopardy wheel that doesn't move, right? It's fixed. And some charts put the houses on the outside. I think you could envision them as on the inside, but essentially the stars and the planets, well, forget the planets. The stars are constantly twisting, constantly spinning around us. The houses stay still. So the signs are moving across the houses. And everything rises. All the planets, the sun, the moon, rise over there towards the first house, towards the ascendant. That's dead east. And like I said, this is actually going up over your head, but the way to visualize it is the houses are fixed. They're not moving. They're essentially attached to the earth, right? Like they're your sights. The zodiac is moving, constantly moving. So that's the main difference. The 12 houses are stuck, and there are 12 different sections that when we take our snapshot of your birth chart, or today, you're looking at today's chart or anything, when you take a snapshot of the sky, you have 12 different sections that each of the planets can fall into. And that's the same way it kind of works with the zodiac, but the zodiac's moving upon this format, however you'd say it. Yeah. You want to give it a go, Merlin? What are the houses?
Yeah, the houses are where the planets are at from your perspective. So everywhere on Earth, when at the same time of day, the planets are going to be in the same sign everywhere on Earth and the same degree of the zodiac everywhere on Earth, but they will be in different houses depending on your perspective. And it really just shows how important perspective is for astrology, because astrology deals with the houses, which is based on perspective, and even aspect has the root spect in it. So it's all about looking, right? When the planets aspect one another, it's how the planets view one another. The root is spect, like you spectate. So what you can see here, like Longo was saying, this line that I put here, this pink line, this is the level of Earth right here. So signs or planets and signs, they'll rise in the east, and this whole thing moves like a clock. This whole thing, they'll circle just like that around the whole thing. So everything above the line, these are all visible. All of these houses are what you can see in the sky. Everything below the line, you can't see at the moment, but they're there, but you just can't see them. So that is what this literally means. So like, we're going to be talking about the signs soon. So like this part here is called the midheaven. And what that is, that's like high noon. So when you look and you see the sun at high noon, that's the sun at the midheaven for the day. So think about it like that, right? The spot that is high noon never changes. It just is what it is. And that's the houses. They are in the same fixed spot always. And yeah, that's how I would describe that.
Right. Yeah. So the 12 houses are essentially fixed, and the zodiac's moving behind them. Now the planets are moving upon the zodiac, right? So you have multiple motions going on at once. But another way to kind of get a understanding of the houses is, let's start with the first house. What is the first house? Now, the first house is where the planets rise, like we were saying. So all the seasons, every time of the year, every day, the sun rises over there by the ascendant. And when you hear people say, my ascendant, or when you hear them say, my rising sign, or when you hear them say their first house, these are all the same, but they're not synonymous. So let's make the distinction real quick, and then the first house will help us learn about all the other houses.
Mm-hmm.
When someone says my first house, that is what is within the bounds of their first house. Anything that's in their first house. And that's within the 30 degrees that we call the first house. When someone says their ascendant, that is the part of the first house, the cusp of the first house, where the first house meets the 12th house. That's the ascendant, the very, very pinpointed spot. So the first house is the whole house. The ascendant is just that little cusp, the very, very beginning, the 0 or first degree, the 0 degree of the first house is the ascendant. Now, rising sign is the sign that's on your ascendant. So that's a zodiac sign. So that's the difference between rising sign, first house, and ascendant. They all can mean the same thing if you're using them correctly in a sentence, but they're not synonymous. And if someone says rising sign, that remember, that's the zodiac sign that their ascendant is pointing to. Doesn't have to do with anything else. Doesn't matter if, you know. But rising is something that a lot of people use incorrectly. Rising is something that can be in your 12th house, approaching your first house, very, very close to your first house. And sometimes people will say, oh, I have this on my ascendant, and it's a little bit in the 12th house. That's okay. But rising is probably the better terminology for that. If something's rising, it's just about to cross into the first house. But your rising sign is what the ascendant is pointing to. So that's the distinction between first house, rising, and ascendant. And rising and ascending mean the same thing too, basically. So those are synonymous, I guess, in the strictest sense. Rising and ascending. So go ahead.
Yeah, and Ptolemy gave allowances for that too. Like Longo was saying, if something is just over here, just barely in the 12th house, it's typically a 5-degree allowance. If it's 5 degrees or fewer into the 12th house, it can be considered to be in your first house on your ascendant. Because we're going to learn later that like the 12th house is the house of hidden enemies, imprisonment, solitude. So if something's like really that close to your ascendant, and it's just barely in the 12th house, it's not really a hidden enemy at all. It doesn't have those qualities. So you give it a 5-degree allowance, and that is exactly what he's talking about. And just to go over some terminology real quick, too, Longo mentioned cusps. So a cusp is that liminal space between the houses. So where the first house touches the 12th house, that's the cusp. And you'll see soon, guys, like if you use the Placidus house system, your first house might be like part Cancer, part Leo. They might have 2 signs in the same house. And if you really want to learn the houses, you need to learn what the ruler of the house is. And the ruler of the house is the planet that rules the sign on the cusp. So if the first house is, let's say, Cancer, like a 15 degrees of Cancer and then 15 degrees of Leo, the moon is the ruler of the first house, because the moon rules Cancer, and that's how that works, just so you know. Also, some other things to cover real quick is there are terms for the types of houses. So we're going over the first house first, obviously, and the first house is called a cardinal house or an angular house. And other types of houses, so like the first house is a cardinal or angular house, the 4th house is a cardinal or angular house, the 7th is cardinal or angular, and the 10th is cardinal or angular. And those are said to be the positions of most prominence and power in the sky.
Can I make a joke real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
What did he say? Someone's saying this website says 8 houses. We got people in here talking 10 and 12 houses, calling BS. That's pretty funny. My house just wants a sign that says go away. That's funny too. Well, I got something funny too. Okay. You know, Vedic astrology, they actually have 0 houses. They use what's called the hut and cow poop system instead of the house system. They have huts and cow dung. And that's what they use to compute their 13 sign Vedic. Yes, everything. Yes, all the crap you hear on Snapchat.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah, so house systems are for the blue bloods in the chat. So no, there's 12 houses. Don't listen to this 10 house crap. Okay, there's 12 houses. That's the truth.
All the best
and I'm joking
ever.
I know Vedic's not 13 sign, but they're both garbage.
Yeah,
fuck Vedic.
Vedic is awful astrology. We support tropical astrology only. Vedic is Jesuit infested nonsense.
Yep. Vedic astrology is bullshit. It needs to be said.
I've got a video on my channel shitting all over Vedic astrology as it rightfully deserves.
Sidereal, Vedic, Jyotish sucks. Totally fake. Totally not ancient either.
Mm-hmm.
In ancient Vedic scripture, they're using tropical astrology. Now people say, oh, what about the moon? The moon. Okay. Implement a lunar system along with your tropical astrology. Use a lunar, like a pagan lunar calendar, and just keep that separate from your solar tropical astrology. Vedic astrology is fake because the English and the Dutch went over to India, taught them the fake and big gay, gangbang, heliocentric gangbang. What do they call it? The Big Bang Theory? Right? The big gay gangbang theory. And then
Something like that.
they taught them this astrology. And they said, oh, didn't you know the sun is at the center of everything? Didn't you know that all your astrology is fake and needs to be updated for the heliocentric model? And they said, oh, thank you, white man. After we're done sucking your toes, let's go update our astrology and make it look like, and then we're going to slap Vedic on here just like they slap yoga on a shopping mall. Okay? My Vedic astrology. My Vedic chart reading. No, you got white mom, suburban driving, Starbucks drinking, yoga class. Okay? Sorry. There's real
want to
beef
see
between tropical and Vedic astrology.
some proof that Vedic is nonsense? Let's go to Google and type in astrologer and go to images and see what we get. Block. Images. Wow. They want to shove Vedic nonsense down your throat whenever you go to Google Images and search astrologer. Look at this astute gentleman. Wow. Let's get some wisdom from this guy.
This
What's
is a
up?
very bad day to get married. Okay.
Yeah. It's bad, guys. It's bad. So
I would highly recommend not getting married on that day. Okay.
Yeah, go to her for a consult. Fucking get killed, probably.
Yeah. Vedic astrology has always been an AI chatbot. Vedic astrologers are always the ones doing like remote readings, like Skype readings, international shady business. Okay. Vedic astrology is fake, not because they use the nakshatras and the lunar system. That's okay. That's nice. It's fake because it thinks that they need to update astrology. It acts under the misconception that astrology needs to be updated. They essentially refute the notion of ages and just think that the equinoxes are drifting and they need to be accounted for. No. Yep.
And another real technical reason why Vedic is nonsense is because tropical astrology tracks the planets north to south. And if you know anything about Earth, north is a fixed point. It does not change, just like the behavior of the sun does not change year to year, no matter which constellation is behind it, east to west. East to west are relative. They mean nothing. And not only that, but the constellations are not the signs. The constellations are not the signs. So everything about Vedic is literal garbage. In 8,000 years, they're going to think that a Capricorn is a Cancer. And they'll be like, oh, but the sign of Capricorn is behind the sun during Cancer season. Okay, but Capricorn is the furthest south constellation. It makes zero sense. So it accounts for east to west drift, but east to west drift means nothing for so many reasons.
Thank you. Thank you for proving our point, Mr. RB. Western signs are off by 2/3 of sign. Very bad. Very, very bad. We're not off by anything, okay? Stop listening to the brainwashing. You know who you sound like? Neil Disgrace Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson chicken wings. Kneel down in the grass. Kneeling in the grass. Okay. Neil deGrasse Tyson is the guy who is essentially coming up with that bullshit and is essentially the world's #1 Vedic astrologer, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Well, don't you know that tropical astrology is fake because, well, the stars have moved. They've moved, and they don't know that. Guys, I'm gonna work on my Neil deGrasse Tyson impression. But Neil deGrasse Tyson is a Vedic astrologer. His explanations of why astrology is fake are the same explanations used by Vedic astrologers to explain why you should only use Vedic astrology. So sorry, RB. Sorry to make a point of you. But yes, if you're a Vedic astrologer, you'll have to accept that Neil deGrasse Tyson is the best of all the Vedic astrologers. Because that's the same reasoning that they use. Nothing's off. An Aries is an Aries, no matter where they're born on Earth, because in the north, in spring, and then around the spring equinox, it is the explosion of light, heat, warmth, the competition for a mate. First thing you do when you're done with hibernation, you just wake up, the harsh winter's done. The race is on. The race for fresh food, a mate, and people start fighting. Animals start fighting. Okay? The rams start butting heads. This is Aries. It's the color, the explosion, the heat. That's Aries. Believe it or not, it's not entirely dependent on what stars are behind it on the equinox. We happened to have a sync up 4,000 years ago where Aries lined up with Aries. Happens all the time. Happens once every 25,000 years.
Yep.
Aries lines up with Aries and it lasts for 2,000 years and then it goes away. We were lucky enough to have it repeat 4,000 years ago.
Yeah. And RB, you said just in chat just now, like, you're not an Indian nor an astrologer. So, like, no offense, man, but like, a lot of people have the same misconception. They hear that shit like, oh, the constellations don't match the signs anymore. It does not matter. The constellations and the signs are not the same thing. The
Exactly.
signs are 30-degree divisions as the sun travels north to south.
Yep.
East to west means literally nothing, and the constellation drift is east to west, which affects nothing. So just everyone who is new to astrology, please truly understand that the constellations are not the signs. Now, do we get a lot of symbolism from the names from the constellations? Absolutely, but they're not literally a one-to-one. In fact, let me close my screen for a second just so I can show the differences, because I have a really good slide for this. I just want to flip like 1,000 slides real quick. So give me just 1 sec while I find this.
Here, let me give one more explanation too.
Yeah.
We do not need to adjust. Okay, how about this? This is the perfect conversation to have about this, actually, because we're talking about the houses, right? Now, Merlin, the first house is ruled by Aries, right? Is connected to Aries.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's a co-significator for sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's called technically, a co-significator.
But when you have your birth chart, you don't need the first house to line up with Aries, do you? It's constantly cycling. The same exact thing is happening with the equinoxes and the stars, the true stars. Every 25,000 years, the Zodiac lines up with the stars line up with the Zodiac every 25,000 years. And they are aligned more or less for 2,000 years. And then they drift into the next sign. The equinox drifts into the next sign, or the ascendant. The stars are really drifting, but the ascendant is pointing back and back every year. right? Precesses. Now, that precession is the same as the zodiac going around the houses. The equinox is the first house, the cusp of the first house. And to say that you need to keep the stars or adjust the zodiac for the stars is like saying when we are doing someone's birth chart, everyone gets their first house in Aries. It's like saying, well, sorry, but this correlates to that. So let's adjust your chart. No, the whole point is that the things that aren't coordinated are getting a chance to sync up with each other. You get what I mean? You want the first house, you want the equinox to progress. You want the signs to progress through the equinox, or the other way around. I forget how to say this.
Yeah, the signs progress to the equinox. Like, yeah.
You want that to happen so that the ages can cycle. Nothing needs to get corrected. It's such a small-minded, and here's why it is a British and a Vedic creation, or sorry, a British and a Dutch creation. Because no one was adjusting for this prior to the heliocentric model.
Yep.
There was no need. What would be the need? They fully understood the ages that cycle. They had a concept of these larger cycles. It's only after the heliocentric model was introduced that you start getting people who are saying, well, we need to adjust the chart for the stars. It's just wrong.
Yep.
It's false. It's misguided. It's misguided. People think they're like overcoming a deception, but they're really just deceiving themselves and watering down astrology.
Much like the 13-month calendar.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Throw my screen up real quick, please, if you don't mind.
Totally.
So this is a graphic, guys, that will show you what's up. So like, let's take a look at Aries, right? So like, there are 3 circles on this graphic, which I made from my upcoming book, shameless plug. So like Aries right here, this is tropical Aries, never moves. You can see how it begins on the spring equinox always. And then in the middle here, this is the Vedic Aries. But wow, look at that. The constellation of the Ram is behind it. And look, would you look at that? Even Vedic does not match the constellations because, guys, signs are 30 degrees in both systems. The constellations vary in sizes. Like, take a look at Taurus, the next one, right? Taurus is there. Vedic Taurus is over here. And then, wow, the bull is way bigger than the ram, and their sign does not match the constellation. So anytime you hear a Vedic astrologer or someone say, oh, the signs don't match the constellations, they don't match it either in any system unless you want the signs to be differing degrees, which makes it would be like if Vedic astrology could somehow be worse, they would change it off of 30 degrees. Like if they could literally make it worse, they would make it match the stars even more. But it's straight up garbage. And the only reason that it's somewhat accurate is because the signs haven't fully drifted off of their signs yet. Like you can see there's like still a little bit of overlap between tropical true Aries versus the sidereal Aries. But as these signs drift further this way, guys, and then the tropical signs stay the same, it's only going to get more nonsensical. And this kind of shit can only fly in the age of Pisces, the age of belief, when people believe all sorts of crazy shit that's just fed to them. Like, this is just peak Pisces bullshit is all this is. And not that all of age of Pisces is bad, but it's the age of belief. And people have a lot of crazy beliefs right now. Yes or yes. So this is one of them. So like, go.
It's operating on 2 fundamental misconceptions / deceptions. Number 1, that like we're saying, the ecliptic and the band of the zodiac and how it's read through the houses must be adjusted so the signs are essentially fixed to the constellations. That's not how ancient astrologers did their astrology. Okay? Astrology is based on the seasons. When God made the heavens and the luminaries and the wandering stars, the Lord, God, good God in heaven, said, Let them be for signs and for seasons.
Yes, sir.
Hang on. You hear that? When Neil deGrasse Tyson says you need to update your zodiac because it's out of sync with the constellations, I say, shut your fat fucking face. And I'm going to stick to what the Bible says. When God, not Neil Disgrace, kneeled down on deGrasse, chicken wings, Tyson Chicken Corporation. Not what he says. I'm going with what God says. When he says, let them be for signs and for seasons. Signs and for seasons. Hang on. Fuck. All right. I need a soundboard. But signs and seasons. The signs are fixed to the seasons. The signs are fixed to the seasons. Okay? Astrology is not just the study of the stars. It's the study of heat, light, moisture, dryness, you know. It is connected to the weather. And people say, oh, well, I live in Antarctica. So why don't I don't see the same constellations. Too fucking bad. It's North Pole centric.
Mm-hmm.
We are honed in on the North Star. It is astrology, not shit astrology, not foot astrology, astrology. Okay? And what does ass mean? Ass above, so below. Ass means the North Pole, by the way. Asgard. The Asur. Asgard. As above, so below. That's why we look to the north. Okay? Everything's spinning around the north. This Vedic astrology is such fucking heliocentric bullshit. It's not even funny. So there's the first misconception, that the signs have to align or have to be stuck to the constellations. False. You're not an astrologer. You're just an astronomer if you're staring at the actual stars. That's the first misconception. The second misconception is that astrology is only 4,000 years old. How can you call yourself a Vedic astrologer who claim to have hundreds of thousands of years of recorded information and astrological cycles that they've been tracking? And then you're going to go with the people who say astrology is only 4,000 years old and it was invented 4,000 years ago because that's when Aries lined up with Aries. And it's just been drifting and becoming more and more inaccurate ever since. Go suck a fucking dick. You're retarded. Honestly. And I'm talking to all the Vedic astrologers out there. Go suck a dick. Okay? a fucking... Sorry. It's just so dumb. How do you not see
it? It's trash, man. Top to bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not fighting a straw man, bro. We're literally dismantling Vedic astrology completely factually. Their signs don't match the constellations. Their signs are only going to get more garbage the longer this goes on. There's no straw man. Yes, did we mock some culture a little bit? A little bit, sure. Did we have some fun with it? Did we poke fun with it? Yes. Is it a straw man in any way? Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. It literally...
Let's steel man Vedic astrology, okay? If we wanted to steel man it, we would say getting married and going to war. That's the only fucking time you need to be staring at the actual real-time location of a planet. You're getting married, it would be nice to have Venus on your side, on your favorable half of the sky. You're going to war, it would be nice to have Mars on the favorable half of the sky. That's it. I've searched and I've tried to look for good Vedic astrology books. By the way, here's the third one. If we really want to dunk on Vedic astrologers, show me one good Vedic astrology book. Show me one good popular, well-known Vedic astrology book, and I won't say it, but okay. You can't do it. You can't produce one. Very hard. Very hard to produce them. People who write Vedic astrology books usually don't stick with it. Okay? They just don't pump out. And that, that's not just a matter of volume or like quantity. All right, well, whatever. You're still watching, buddy.
And like
Still watching.
the ancient Egyptians practiced tropical, and most importantly, the Arabs, who were extremely gifted and talented astrologers who wrote excellent books on astrology. Many excellent Arab astrologers from the early, I think, like 800s, wrote about tropical astrology beautifully, and much of their work was referenced in the Renaissance and medieval ages by talented Northern European astrologers. So tropical goes way back. It's way better. It's just God's true astrology. That's the only way. That's the only way to put it. And that's not feelings. That's just fact.
Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Vedic culture, okay? But I've got a friend who is on YouTube, who is very into Vedic history. This guy, he knows a lot of Hinduism. He's very big on Buddhism, okay? When I first met him, he was huge on the Vedic astrology. And the first time I ever met him, I told him, buddy, I can save you some time and some trouble with this. Just stop with the Vedic. Just look into tropical. And I told him my reasons, and I didn't see him for 6 months, maybe even a year. And the next time I saw him, he was thanking me. Thank you for showing me the way, because it's such a mean deception. Just like they use the yoga in the shopping mall. By saying this is ancient Vedic astrology, they're fooling people into thinking they have the ultimate, original, truer. And it's kind of like people not wanting to like the Beatles. What, just because it's the most popular? Tropical is very popular. It's like water. Water is good for you. It's basic. It's natural. Everyone drinks it. Tropical astrology is what's natural. It's what's intuitive. Yeah. And also, why are Vedic astrology charts almost always table charts? Like, why don't they use a nice, beautiful circle chart? Because they just don't look at the movement of the heavens the same way. It's fundamentally hijacked by the heliocentric model. So Vedic is a nice word. Jyotish is a nice word. What does Jyotish mean? Just light? Isn't that right?
Not sure.
What does Jyotish mean? Don't rest my credibility on that. Science of light. Boom. Fucking
nice.
Get wrecked. Vedic astrology is not in the Vedas. Okay, they might be using some lunar aspects, but they're not adjusting for the constellations. That's what we're trying to save you from. You can use the nakshatras if you really want to, but don't adjust your constellations and say that if I'm a Sagittarius, I'm really a Capricorn or a fucking Scorpio. It's BS. Okay. That's it. That's all we're going to spend on that. We're an hour into the show.
Yep.
First house. What's up?
Can I just go over the cardinal points real quick, or just go straight to the first house, you think?
Yeah, let's talk about the cardinal points. That's a good idea.
Yeah, guys, the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses are the most significant points in the sky. Those are cardinal or angular houses. So planets are most powerful when they're there. Now, you can kind of see the power of other houses based off of their relationship to the cardinal points. So just know that 1, 4, 7, and 10 are the cardinal houses, just like 1, 4, 7, and 10 are the cardinal signs. That's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn for the signs. That's the cardinal houses. Now, just let's use the first house for an example, right? So the first house is either called cardinal or angular. Those are synonyms for the houses. The second house is called a succeedent house.
Hey,
So
Merlin,
yeah,
I'll
go
be
ahead,
right
sorry.
back.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Get a water.
sure. So if the fourth house is also an angular or a cardinal house, the fifth house is also a succeedent house. What succeedent means is that it's going to be in an angular house soon. So those planets are pretty happy. Those are the second most powerful houses typically. Because again, this whole thing, guys, right? The houses stay in the same spots, but the planets rotate around us every 24 hours. So if a planet is in the second house, well, in roughly 2 hours, maybe less, it'll be in the first house. So it's a succeedent house. Now, the 12th house, compared to the first house, that's called a cadent or falling house. And planets are typically weak or unhappy and in the falling houses because they were just in the position of most prominence and then they have moved out of it. Thus, they are falling out of it. That's why they're called falling or cadent, which means falling. So, like, that's houses 12, 9, 6, and 3 are all falling houses. And especially house 12 and house 6 are some of the most precarious places for planets to be. We'll go over all this in depth one at a time, but like the 12th house is the house of hidden enemies, imprisonment, all this. It's called the bad demon. The ancient astrologers called the 12th house the bad demon. It's Saturn rejoices there, so that's not good. Typically, and I have a very active 12th house. And then the sixth house is where Mars rejoices, and that is the house of illness or infirmity. So if you have malefics in the sixth or 12th house, you may have hidden enemies, imprisonment issues. In the sixth house, especially, you've got illness issues. And a lot of houses work like that, guys, is that they have these relationships. And this is what's so beautiful about this, guys, is when you understand the houses, you can understand how the chart, and of course, the chart is a reflection of the heavens. The whole thing is a living and breathing organism that works together in unison, which I can't wait to get into the details of the houses, guys, because it's so beautiful once you see it. But so like the 12th and 6th house, guys, they're on opposite ends. That's called an axis. So they are related big time. So like for instance, the 4th and 10th, well, we'll get into all the axes later, but it's really cool to understand how these opposites interact and then how also the houses interact side to side as well. Which once Longho gets back and we start getting into these houses, it's really cool. So I hope that makes sense that the cardinal points are the points of most significance. And then if you have left, like if a planet leaves a cardinal sign, it goes into a falling house. Not happy. The second, fifth, eighth, and 11th houses, those are succeedent houses. They are moving towards those positions of power. Welcome back, Longo. First house.
Yeah.
So, like we got into earlier, guys, the first house is called the ascendant, the rising house, the house of the self. It has all these significations. It is most indicative of one's personality, of what one looks like. And did you want to speak on the first house before I get into it too much?
Totally. So you talked about the four corners, basically.
Yeah, and like
A little bit.
the power of the houses and what that really means and why it means what it means. Yeah.
The first house associated with Aries. Okay. What did you call those? Co-signatory or
Yeah,
what'd you call them?
co-significators. Yep.
Co-significator. So when we think of the first house, think of Aries. Okay. Shares a lot of those qualities. But remember, the house is largely how things show up in your life, right? It's very personal, whereas the sign is very conceptual, right? It's it's thinking about forms and concepts, whereas the house is looking at your life more specifically. So when we look at the first house, think of some of the things we see with Aries. Aries rules the head. Some would say the face, right? The It's the part where the sun rises. So we see the sun for the first time there in the first house. Rises as we see its fresh, new, early face every morning, right? And the moon, we see the moon rise up over there near the ascendant. Not exactly. The moon strays a little bit more, but sun, moon, all the planets rise over the ascendant. Now, since that's where we see things for the first time, the first house rules first impressions. The first house rules how people see you, especially for the very first time. And remember, when you don't know someone, they have this mystique about them, right? Oh, wow, they're really cool. They'd never talk to me, or oh, I'm way out of their league, or oh, they seem like a real angry person. I don't, they just look that way. I don't know if I want to go up to them. But then you break through that. When you're breaking the ice, that's almost like moving past the first house. Like you're seeing through someone's facade, or you're getting let in past their facade. The first house is how we show up for the first time, first impressions. Like Merlin said, it's also kind of how you choose to look, how it's your outer layer. So it can determine your face, how your face looks. It can determine your body type largely. And it's the second most important part of your chart visually, second to your sun sign. And some would say it's more important visually than your sun sign. But the reason the sun and the first house have a lot in common is because the sun rules. Well, it exalts in Aries, co-ruler of Aries. And then Aries rules the first house. So that's the chain reaction, or the supply line, I guess, from the sun to the first house. Sun rules light and vision and all that. And Aries in the first house are associated with that too. So why do we have the Hershey Kisses wrapper there? Well, the Hershey Kisses, the wrapper, is this AI generated?
I have no idea. I just found Hershey Kisses and found one that looks decent. It probably is, which I hope it is. That way it's not copywritten.
I like to think of the first house as a candy wrapper. It's the most colorful exterior piece of you, but it's also the thinnest and most easily kind of peeled away part of you. And the bulk of you is behind that first house, right? You've got all these houses, but the first house kind of gets almost all the attention. When people say their astrology, the first house is like gets the gold medal. All the other houses are forgotten about pretty much. People say, "Oh, I'm a Gemini, Cancer, Cancer." What are they saying? They're saying their sun, their moon, and their ascendant. So the ascendant's that important. People count it as the third most significant part of the chart. Sun, moon, ascendant. Some people say sun, ascendant, then moon, and that's okay. The ascendant is your first house, which is what we're kind of saying. And having something on your first house, a planet or anything like that, is going to really dominate the chart. It's almost going to be as dominant as having your sun conjunct something, or those are the things that I look at first on a chart. I look, is something conjunct the ascendant? Is something conjunct the sun? Is something conjunct the midheaven? That's what I look at, and that is at a glance tells you a ton about the people, about the chart. Also, the houses help but you don't even need the houses sometimes. You can look at bottom heavy, top heavy. Are all the planets at the bottom of the chart? That tells you a lot. Those are typically people who have a hard time getting up off the couch. They have a hard time saying goodbye to a house or goodbye to a place, or, they like to kind of settle down there at the bottom of the chart, just be fixed. People who have a lot of weight at the bottom of the chart, those are usually the people who are like, oh, I gotta go to work. Oh, I gotta do that. Oh, I'd really just love to just sit in bed. And, that's often how it shows up. Whereas all the planets at the top of your chart, these are typically go-getters. These are typically people who can't stand staying at home too long. Like the Wolf of Wall Street, like forget your wife's name. You haven't seen her in like 7 months. You're just boom, 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 boom. You have a hard time sitting down, staying settled. So that can tell you a lot. Top heavy chart, bottom heavy chart. Also, left heavy charts tend to have more run-ins with the law, tend to have more black sheep, troublemaker, rebel, left-leaning chart. A right-leaning chart, not always. And, astrology does not determine character or conduct. Well, depending on how good of an astrologer you are, maybe. But right-leaning, right-heavy charts tend to just kind of play it safer. So, and that a lot of times means making the right decision, right? The right side of things, right? Just erring on the side of what they think is right. And that doesn't always mean they're a better person, but right, left, right. You see that symbolism politically. Yeah, it's true. It's true. There are objective directions. But okay. So when we're looking at a first house, if there's a planet in there, that's going to tell us a lot. It might show up on the face too, for example. Mars in the first house or Mars right on the ascendant. These people often have redness in the face, acne in the face, severe acne, redness in the skin, inflammation on the skin or the surface or the face, because that's Mars, the hot one, right there on the first house. And that's an easy way to kind of understand how the planets show up in the houses. If you've got something in the first house, it's often on your face. People with Pluto in the first house often have scars or a pitted face or something like that. Venus on the ascendant, often beautiful. Venus conjunct the sun, often beautiful. Not always. Sometimes if you're a man, you have Venus conjunct. You might have some feminine features, but it's usually a mark of beauty. Yeah. The first house, the first house rules how you look. Some would say how you act. Personality, right? The sun sign and the first house largely determine your personality, how you're animated, Second house, people say is wealth. Earned income is how some people put it. Material assets, right? Now, the second house shows you a little bit of work ethic. All the earth signs show you work ethic, right? Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you kind of see an evolution of the career through the earth signs and wealth. But yeah, second house is wealth. And we're going to have to speed through these a little bit because I really want to focus on the planetary cycles. There's plenty of videos out there that talk about what the houses are, but we'll just kind of breeze through them a little bit. Wealth, earned income, material assets, right? Like some would say houses, jewelry, things like that. What else do you see in the second house?
I mean, yeah, it's really just a significator of wealth and how you acquire it. So, like, whatever sign rules the 12th house, or whatever planet rules the 12th house, will indicate typically how you earn your money. And what's interesting, a good point that Longar brought up that I want to kind of dig into a little deeper is like, even if there's no planet in a house or a sign, look at the ruler of that sign or the ruler of that house, meaning the ruling planet, and that will tell you a lot of the qualities and nature of how that house or sign is going to go in your chart. Like if you have the sun ruling, let's say Leo, but there's no planets in Leo, right? How is the sun in your chart? Is your sun afflicted by malefics, or is it, gifted by good aspects with benefics? That will tell you how that's going to go. And the same is true for all the different planets, all the different signs, all the different houses. So this really speaks to how interrelated all of these different things are. But yeah, for the second house specifically, I mean, you're really just looking at wealth, how you get it, and how your financial status. Fun fact,
Another
Mars. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Another what?
No, you go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, you're good. Just Mars does not do well there. Like, you don't want Mars in your second house, and I've got Mars in my second house. But like, it just is what it is. The Sun and Mars allegedly do not do well there. Jupiter,
Right.
of course, does great in the second house. Jupiter is a co-significator of the second house because Jupiter. Go ahead.
Well, the runes will explain that. When we do our episode on the runes, dude, it explains so much. It's crazy. Because the Taurus rune is the Thor rune, and the Sagittarius rune is the letter T. So when you see a T word or the Tor sound, only the runes explain that. But also, you can understand the houses, of course, by looking at the 12 signs, but especially the mottos of the 12 signs. So the first house has to do with self and identity. And what is the motto of the first sign? I am. So the house largely points you in the direction of you. It says, you're saying I am, but with the first sign, that applies to just kind of everyone. When you're looking at the first house, you're actually tackling that question or that statement, I am. In the second house, the motto of Taurus, the second sign, is I have. So the second house is all about what you have, right? And this is, I guess, what we could call mammon too, right? The second house rules mammon, Maya, right? It's Maytime, the illusion, the matter, the material world. That's very Taurus. So what you have, second house is what you have. The third house, the third sign is Gemini. And Gemini, the motto is I think. So the third house has to do with communication, right? Has to do with education a little bit. That's more the sixth house. But the third house has to do with articulation, communication. Merlin chose siblings. Now that's totally true as well. Why? Mercury in Greek we call Hermes. When we say brother or sister in Spanish or Latin, how do we say it? Hermano, hermana,
Nice.
hermetic. When you're operating from the hermetic worldview is not that we are the children of God. The hermetic worldview is that we are the siblings of God. Now, I don't subscribe to that. That's not my worldview. But the hermetic, one of the hermetic, just the meanings of the word hermetic, like, is brotherly. To be in a hermetic order, right? Brotherly means you have brothers. Yep. Hermana. Hermes. So yeah, siblings, third house. Siblings will show up in the third house.
Yeah, and like who do you communicate most with as you develop, right? This is an early house, so like you can think of it too as like signs of development as well as you go through, right? Younger to older is another
Yeah.
way to look at it. There are so many layers to this, but like when you learn to communicate, who do you learn to communicate with? Typically, your siblings, if you have them. Hopefully, you do. It's a
Oh,
blessing, right? So like
yeah.
that's where you learn how to debate because the third house, like Longo was saying, it's like speech, debate, how we express and communicate. It rules siblings as well. It rules short travel. So like the ninth house will go later. There is travel. That's long travel.
Commute.
Yeah, this is commuting. Day or less travel is the third house.
Yeah.
And all that relates to siblings, relates to communication. That's why Mercury's there. The third house is the joy of the moon because it does rule short quick journeys, and the moon, once again, I love talking about, is the quickest heavenly body. It's zipping all over the place. So the
Yeah.
third house is the joy of the moon because again, do we like to communicate our feelings as well? Yes, we do. The moon rules feelings, the moon rules short journeys, all these different things. So it ties in on so many different levels.
And also, Gemini's the twins, and twins are siblings, right? Twins are siblings. So that makes sense. Fourth house, moving on. Home and roots, which could be your parents, right? Fourth house, parents shows up to the home life, when you go back home for Thanksgiving, that's like you're stepping back into your fourth house kind of. Um, Fourth house, like the Cancer, Cancer, the crab has the most children, has the most offspring. And they're very concerned with their offspring. And Cancers, they're motherly. It's the motherly sign, very nurturing, home oriented. That's what you see in the fourth house, fourth sign, fourth house. And the fourth, like we were saying, the third sign, the motto is I think. And then the fourth sign, the motto is I feel. And when you go home, girls especially, they tell their mom about how they feel, right? Like everything, especially between daughters and moms, it's just constant feelings. Oh, this happened to me today and it made me feel like this. And oh, I hear women say this. I haven't really processed something until I tell my mom about it. How many times have you heard a woman or a female say some rendition of that? You know, oh, I don't know what to do. I'll tell my mom. Men do that, I guess, sometimes with their dads, but it's very feelings based with the women, right? Um, and that's what you see with Cancer, the fourth house. I feel so. Parents. How would we say this? The only person required by law to care about your feelings are your parents, right? Facts don't care about your feelings, but your parents kind of have to a little bit. And your parents feel for you. Your parents are, but yeah. What do you want to say about the fourth house, Merlin?
Yeah, like you said, the what you said earlier about the roots is so true, and we'll see later when we compare and contrast this house to the midheaven how perfect that is, how that axis between the fourth and the 10th house operates. But yeah, this rules ancestry, inheritance, what you can get from your parents. And what's so cool about this, guys, and this is where we get into like this is for the advanced astrologers out there, is right, the first house was the self, the second
Mhm.
house was the wealth. We're going to see that these houses relate in the same way. What do I mean by that? So if the third house is the siblings, well, then the wealth of the siblings is often affected by the parents. Can the parents leave you anything? Like how your parents hook you up in life, or if they don't hook you up in life and put you at a disadvantage, that affects your wealth and your siblings' wealth. And that's going to go on. Like we'll see in the next house. The fifth house is the house of children, but the fifth house can also indicate the wealth of the parents. So, like for the advanced astrologers out there, all of these house concepts literally apply to one another as they move through. It's very, very interesting how this all works and plays together
Yeah,
like that.
there's almost like a um, wheel of life going on a little
Yeah.
bit.
It always
But
works. It's crazy.
yeah, so fourth house, parents, roots, your home too. That's what I like to say a lot about the fourth house. In my readings, it always have success. Your fourth house, like if you have Pluto in the fourth house, lots of transformation. Maybe lots of like you left house really quick multiple times, you know. One day you're sleeping in a house, next day it's gone. You know, sudden rapid transformations in living situation. I see that with Pluto in the fourth house all the time. Mars in the fourth house, a lot of perhaps a lot of yelling, fighting in the home, you know. And of course, you take into consideration all your aspects. There's a lot more to be said for all the planets and all the houses. But generally, if you have Mars in the fourth house, your home life might be a little bit more chaotic and violent, or maybe more of an athletics oriented house. You know, your parents were always making you you know, get up early and go work out or something, you know, that martial element will be there, whether it's the violence or the discipline or, you know, military family, it's going to show up. But moving on, fifth house, children. Now, when I say the fifth house, I say leisure. I like to introduce the fifth house as the house of leisure. But children, that is true, and also the traditional interpretation of the fifth house. And it's true because your leisure, you know, you have kids for many reasons, and I don't have kids, but from what I've heard, once you have kids, they are like your happiness. Like they are your world, you know? And it's hard. Again, I don't have kids, so I'll just leave it right there. But
And it's true.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, but like again, going back to that point earlier, right? If the fourth house is the parents, well, what's the true wealth of the parents? The children, right? Owen Benjamin says this all the time. You know, family is wealth, and that is so true. But yeah, this, you know, being a house of leisure, a house of pleasure, a house of all these, you know, great things. It's how you want to spend your free time. Which, like Longo was saying, if you have kids, it's going to be with kids. Hopefully, if you're a good parent, right? So, like, you know, most of these concepts, guys, are like, you know, under ideal situations. And of course, the modern world that we're in has a lot of factors going against a lot of what could be considered the natural order. And like, if your fifth house is corrupted, right, it does rule sex and procreation as well, mostly. And like, if you have an afflicted fifth house, you may be a sexual degenerate. You may have a lot of affairs, a lot of you know, sexual misappropriation, stuff like that. You may mistreat your children, things like that. So like, these significators, guys, if your house is afflicted by malefics, or if there are squares or bad rays going into them, then all this can affect these things.
100%. The fifth house I see as the house of exercise, leisure, and yes, children, offspring too. And it's associated with Leo. And you know, when we say lions, people think of the mama lion or the pride. You know, if you're like, the pride is the family, but Leo, you know, Leo also has a lot of pride, right? So you see that double meaning in the word. That's kind of the double meaning in the fifth house, right? It's what you're proud of, it's your children, but you know, I guess cats also love leisure and love to have fun and, you know, relax and exercise and gymnastics and like you know, athletics. I see in the fifth house show up a lot. How people choose to spend their time, if they choose to go work out or run, or, you know, and what gives them endorphins or whatever you want to call it, right? This pleasure, leisure. All right, moving on. Sixth house.
Real quick, what you were saying ties into the double meaning of the word son, right? We have, like, you know, God's son, the sun in the sky, God's son, Jesus. When you create sons, they become your joy, and they're all their own individual lions, and thus you create a pride of lions, where each, you know, you're bringing souls into the world, which relates to the word solar. And then also, real quick, the fifth house is the joy of Venus, because it's associated with pleasure, leisure, recreation, and procreation. then Venus is all of those things.
Good
So
point.
yeah.
Yeah. Sixth house, illness. Wow. All right, we probably should have coordinated these before
It's all good.
before we went live, but okay. Illness makes sense. I would emphasize the potential for health too. Like it's your medical house, I guess. The house of medicine, the house of nutrition, the house of digestion. All those all go hand in hand. And the house of medication, the house of and the house of education. Okay. And again, some people would put that in the third house a little bit. The third house is definitely like young, the things you first learn, like your first time learning this, first time learning that shows up in the third house. First time riding a bike, that's like the most third house thing there is, right? But then you go to the sixth house, it's more institutionalized education. Middle school, high school, college, that's going to show up in Virgo and the sixth house. The class pets or teachers' pets and the people who were all very turned their homework in every single time on time. The people who studied their ass off, that's going to show up in the sixth house. How you are as a student shows up in the sixth house. But yeah, Merlin's absolutely right to also focus on medicine, the medical element of the sixth house. The sixth house is kind of where the caduceus shows up, in between Virgo and Libra. And I guess that would be like the health trine there, like exercise, Leo, Libra, or Leo, Virgo, Libra. Level up, LVL. That's what I like to say. Level up, LVL, whatever.
Yeah.
Sixth house, health and education. So, having a malefic in the sixth house. I have Mars in the sixth house.
Do you?
I think so.
Interesting. The sixth house is the joy of Mars. That's where Mars rejoices because, Mars is associated with illnesses, but also health in general because Mars rules doctors.
No,
Like,
Mars. Sorry. I was tripping.
Oh, go ahead.
I was tripping. I meant to say Mars in Virgo. Excuse me. Sorry.
Gotcha.
You're right. Yeah, you were surprised because you were correct.
Because you're pretty healthy. So like if Mars is in your sixth house, you might have a lot of chronic health issues or at
Yeah.
least short-term health issues. Saturn would indicate chronic health issues. The sixth house, yeah, like Longo was saying, is all about health. But like I was saying earlier, right? The sixth house is a falling house, right? The seventh house is an angular house. So the sixth house just fell out of prominence from the seventh house. That's why it's typically considered weak. Right? If you have a well-fortified sixth house, you'll probably have strong health. But if your sixth house is not well-fortified, if it's afflicted in any or many ways, there's a very strong chance you're suffering from health conditions, either periodically, regularly, or chronically throughout your life. So that's just something to consider with that. And yeah, it's related to doctors because Mars rules doctors, specifically through Scorpio. There's a lot of great astrologers all agree that those dominated by Scorpio make the best surgeons, because you got to be quite martial to get in there with the blood and mix in with and do surgeries without being too squeamish. So it's actually a very manly profession, surgery specifically.
Yeah, good point. My Mars is in the fourth house, by the way.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So sixth house, we have education and health showing up. How you are as a student and how you are with illnesses, tummy aches, right? Like weak stomach, strong stomach. And stomach is kind of Cancer, so keep that in mind. But Virgo is digestion as a whole.
The
Okay.
sixth house also rules people who are under you typically. So if you have servants, if you have employees, if you have students, those are all people that are under you socially. Also rules pets and small animals. So this goes back to the axes that I was talking about earlier, guys, because we'll learn later that the 12th house rules large cattle and large animals, because the 12th house rules hard labor. So those, large animals are ruled by the 12th house, but then the smaller animals are ruled by the 6th house. And again, your pets are underneath
Oh,
you. So
yeah,
all
yeah.
these things work in several different layers. Go ahead, bro.
No, good point. Thank you. We almost missed that. Sixth house rules pets. Sixth house has pets. If you have a stellium in the sixth house, you probably got fish, hamster, rabbit, dog, cat. That happens a lot. If okay, dogs, fourth house, ruled by Cancer. Cats, ruled by Leo. Fifth house, maybe they show up. But all pets show up in the sixth house. Pets as a whole, regardless of species, are ruled by the sixth house. And like Merlin's saying, livestock, something bigger than a pet, something bigger than a dog, is either going to be ruled by Capricorn or what did you say, Pisces or the 12th house?
The 12th house, yeah, the house of hard labor.
Yeah. I would put big animals in the 12th house, like elephant,
Oh yeah.
hippopotamus. I personally, I see like goat, um, maybe even bulls are ruled by Taurus. But in terms of that's what we're saying here is individual species can each be placed in a different sign of the zodiac. But when you're using them for a similar role, like pet, cat can be a pet, dog can be a pet, hamster can be a pet, that all shows up in sixth house. Livestock being used for farming and agriculture, in my mind, tends to show up in the 12th house. Sorry. He said 12th house. I'm going to say 10th house for farming animals. Agricultural use, right? But big animals, 12th house for sure. Big animals.
And
Go
real
ahead.
quick, just to touch on the point I was making earlier, right? How like the houses have interplay. So the first house is the self, the third house is the siblings, right? So that's two over from the first house is the siblings. Well, another thing ruled by the sixth house is uncles and aunts. So if the fourth house is the parents, well, then two over from that is the siblings of the parents. So the sixth house also rules aunts and uncles as well. And that just shows more of how that kind of works, the interplay between the houses. So,
Yeah. Now, sixth house. Okay, we talked about pets, education, illness. Seventh house, marriage and law. Marriage and courtroom. And what's the commonality there? When you get married, you have to go to the court, don't you? And when you're trying to marry someone, when you're pursuing them to date them or to marry them, they call that courting. You're courting someone. Libra also rules measurements. Quarts. How many quarts of milk would you like? 1 quart, 2 quart, 3 quarts? That's another type of quart measurement. LB is pounds. Libra rules measurement. The 7th house is Libra. Libra, 7th house, same thing. And then LB stands for Libra, and it's measurement of weight. Well, a quart is a measurement of volume, I guess, but same thing. So we say court. We say court system, like you go to court, jury duty, whatever. You're courting someone for marriage. You go to court to be judged. You can measure with a quart. And then, are there more to this? Yes, there are. When you cut something, you make it, you curtail it. court, right? When you are a tailor, how do we say this? Okay, but then if you're cutting rope, if you're measuring rope, you have a cord. Okay, hand me that 2-foot cord. Hand me that USB cord. You see that? It's 4 meanings in the same sound, same word, same phonetic sound, you know. But pretty crazy. And all of them are associated with Libra. Tailoring is, you know, yeah, what's the word I'm looking for with a tailor?
I'm not sure. But I mean, a public execution back in the day, you could be drawn and quartered, which is to be cut into quarters. Not a great way to go.
Right, quarter. Yeah, that's another quarter. Okay. Well, oh, and quartz crystal. Yeah, by the way, good one. Quartz crystal, also ruled by Libra. Quartz crystal, because it's clear, it's see-through. But okay. 7th house rules marriage, and some could say long-term relationships in general. You know,
business partnerships, 100%.
Business partnerships too. You know, that's when you get into business with someone, they say you're getting in bed with them. Right?
Hey, yeah.
That's very, very, very 7th house.
Some people are married to their jobs like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So 7th house rules marriage, legal trouble, and partnerships.
Also public enemies, just because, again, if you're going to court to somebody, they're not a hidden enemy, which is the 12th house. They're a public enemy. You are in the public square, you know, going toe to toe, squaring off in court. On a court, it's all a racket, as Jordan Maxwell says.
Well, and public enemies, because it's opposing yourself. This is your opponent. Your 1st house is the self, and the 7th house opposes yourself.
Yeah, and like, because it signifies the spouse as well, like how cool is that? Like the opposite of, like, you know, like you and your spouse, there is an opposition there. Like every relationship, you know, a marriage is a tug of war between 2 opposing forces. Like, yeah, are you on the same team? Yes. But are you trying to influence each other at the same time from different perspectives? Yes, you are. And like, real quick too, just to go into this again, like I like saying the interplay between the signs, or the houses rather. If the 1st house is the self, we'll learn later the 12th house is the house of hidden enemies. We just learned that the 6th house could be illnesses, right? So in your marriage, what are your spouse's hidden enemies? Your weaknesses, your shortcomings, which the 6th house definitely signifies, are the hidden enemies of your spouse. Very, very interesting.
So that's the 7th house. 8th house. Death. Yeah, death. You could look at it as death. People like to say the house of inheritance, you know, like things you get because other people died. 8th house, inheritance. And that makes sense because 8th house is opposing the 2nd house. And the 2nd house is like earned income, like what you kind of worked for or what you acquired yourself. 8th house is the opposite. It's what just kind of fell into your lap. Someone else died and then boom, you got $1 million, you know. Jupiter in the 8th house, very good for inheritances. Okay, very good for, you know. What else does the 8th house represent? Occult interests, influence, and passion and talent for the occult. When we say occult, we're saying the eighth area of life, the ocular, you know, octagon, right? 8. Has to do with what's hidden, right? Like, yeah.
And what's more hidden from us that we want to know more than anything? What happens when we die? Do we have some good ideas, some hopes, you know, some good ideas based off of some of the smartest people ever? Yeah, sure we do. But none of us knows for certain, you know? So
Yeah.
like that is the truest of hidden knowledge, is what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
And that is occult.
Yep. So I know for a fact people who have 3 or more planets in the 8th house are almost always infatuated with the occult or esoteric, learning, conspiracy theories, looking deep into things. That's the 8th house. Now, what else shows up in the 8th house?
Loss and decay. Theoretically, the quality and nature of death. A lot of crises are associated with the 12th house as well.
Right. Secrets.
Yeah.
But okay, let's go to the 9th house. 9th house is, and again, I guess we stopped saying the mottos. 5th house is hang on, 5th sign, Leo, I will. I will, right?
I think I will is Gemini, 3rd house. Let me just look up real
No,
quick.
it's I think. Gemini's I think. Come on, bro.
You use the arms to do the work. I think it's, let's see, planet or
No, it's will.
mottos
I'm right.
of-
Because will, you don't have to check.
Okay, I'm just pulling it up anyway, so we can just sew for later. Aries, I am. Okay, yeah, you're right. Gemini, I think, and then Leo, I will. You correct.
Yeah, and it doesn't make much sense in English because when we think of will, we think of like I'm going to, like future tense, right? But will in German, will is what you want. It's almost like what you're going to make happen because you want it to happen. Like I will do this because my willpower is compelling me, I'm using my willpower on this. So will, this is almost like Aleister Crowley's will. This is not like I will do this, I'm going to do this. It's more saying, yeah. So 5th house, I will. 5th sign, I will. 6th sign, I analyze. I analyze. And that's Virgo, very analytical, right? Education. 7th house, I balance. I balance. And marriage is a balancing act, I guess. And 8th house, I desire. I desire. I crave. I lust. Some people say I lust, but I desire. Scorpio is all about desire. So, and we saw that in the last house. 9th house, I see. I want to go see the world. I don't want to go walk on the world. I don't want to go touch the world. I want to go see the world. I want to see everything, all the sights I haven't seen before. I'm a sightseer. You're right. You see the visual aspect. Well, the 9th house rules travel. It's 9th sign is Sagittarius. So the 9th house rules travel. Sagittarius rules travel. But in particular, it's, you and your travels in your life. Now, the 9th house rules also higher learning a little bit, right? Like
100%.
getting your PhD or your master's would be switching into kind of becoming an authority on something. That's you're stepping into your more 9th house zone versus 6th house education. 9th house is becoming an authority on something or a teacher of something. But also travel, long distance travel, vacations. That's the 9th house. If you have Mars in the 9th house, you might get more injuries or get into more trouble abroad than you do at home, right? Depending on how your Mars is situated.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn, same deal. You might have some more misfortune abroad than you do at home. But again, look at the aspects and so on.
If you have Saturn in the ninth, those long distance traveling would feel like an arduous journey every time because Saturn is so slow and laborious in its movement, and your traveling would reflect that entirely.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
ninth house also rules religion.
Yep.
You know, like Longa was saying, higher learning. It rules astrology, mysticism, philosophy, higher learning. And I love making this connection between travel and then religion. What's the connection? Well, a pilgrimage, right? What is the ultimate long distance travel? A traveling for God, right? A lot of times, like most people who, even if you're an atheist and you're traveling, it's because you want to broaden your horizon. So, like, there's the higher learning in traveling. There's a huge connection there between long distance travel and religion and higher learning. A lot of, ancient mystics would travel the world and spread the message and do that. So, like, there's a massive connection there between all these different things. And this is, of course, the house that where the sun rejoices as well. And we base our year off of the sun's annual travel through the ecliptic. That's what astrology is. So, like, the sun is associated with the ninth house, religion, and of course, most religions are associated with the sun. So, just massive connections in the ninth house to be made.
Yeah. I also hear some people say the ninth house has to do with purpose, and I think you touched on that like a little bit, like the big questions, the big,
Yeah.
Purpose. Why am I here? You know, 10th house. Let's get to the also ninth house. Horse girls. Where are my horse girls at? Okay, who's ever met a horse girl?
The equestrians.
Freaky little fucking freaky ass bitches. Horse girls, some freaky ass freaks. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. They know what I'm talking
Oh
about.
gosh.
Horse girls, talking to you, and we see you in the ninth house, exposed. Okay, horse girls always show up in the ninth house.
Oh, and a quick linguistic connection, right? Longo was talking about seeing things earlier. You could be a sightseer. Well, then also the word seer, seer, is someone who is a seer. They're trying to peer into the mystical realm. So, like, these,
Right.
sight. You could be looking for God. You can be looking for purpose. You can be looking to connect to something greater than yourself. And that's typically why you travel, to see all the world, all that God has put here for us to experience, to broaden your horizons, either intellectually within your mind with religion or with long distance travel by seeing more of God's green earth.
10th house. Let's hit it. 10th house, the midheaven. And what is the midheaven? It signifies career and or highest potential. Now, why is it the highest potential of your chart? Remember, guys, with tropical, with the house systems we're using, everything is so intuitive. Home life, 4th house, down at the bottom. Settled, roots, down at the bottom. 10th house is the opposite. It's what you're climbing up to. It's your highest potential, your ceiling, your acme, your peak.
It's how you branch out.
10th house is either the career that's going to best serve you or bring you, to the highest you can go, or it's your purpose. Not everyone has a career. Not everyone has a professional career. Women, my women out there, please don't go searching for a career. You don't need to have a career. You can have a hobby. You can turn a hobby into a profession as long as it helps the family, helps you serve your femininity. Don't sweat a career, okay? Don't sweat it. Please, ladies. Let the men do the working. Okay, we need women to keep we need men to work hard to keep the world spinning. We need women to not work so that they can tend to everyone and keep the world from spinning out of control.
Absolutely.
Men make
Motherhood. Sorry, go ahead.
men make the world spin around. Women keep it from spinning out of control.
Yeah.
So
Motherhood is the number one job, and all other jobs support that 100%.
totally. So that being said, career will show up at the top of the chart. And for maybe a woman who's not career oriented, or a man who's not career oriented or whatever, you're going to see your highest potential at the top of the chart. Doesn't have to be career or money oriented. It's your highest potential, your highest calling, right? And basically, a lot of times it's what people aspire to, aspire to climb the spire, up there. The 10th house, especially the cusp, like Merlin was saying earlier, the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th, those cusps are very significant. They dominate the chart. The first house, especially. The MC, second most influential. Then the DC. Then what's the other one called? The IC.
The IC. And yeah, the C stands for Caelum, or sky. So it's just like, it's Latin for lower sky, is all it is.
Now, for example, if you have, and with the MC, since it's a cusp, we can look at the sign, and that tells us so much, Again, with those main four corners, the sign can tell you a lot. Your first house, you're looking at the sign. This is what I don't like about some astrology, is that people say, oh, my hang on. Sounds like there's someone in here.
Who is it?
Something just fell over. Give me one sec.
Oh, like actually?
Yeah.
Okay, yo, don't get robbed. So guys, the 10th house is what you're most known for. So for many men and women too, if you have a career, right? It's you're known for your career, but the 10th house is fame or infamy. And like Longo was saying earlier, the fact that he brought up roots is beautiful. I was gonna do the same exact thing. Like the 4th house is your roots. The axis, the 10th house, is where you branch off into, like how you interact with the world, and it's just incredible with that. Yeah, I mean, the 10th house is all about like glory, so like Longo was saying, it's like not necessarily a career, but like if your 10th house is afflicted, like if you have Saturn, or if you have a dignified Saturn in the 10th house, you could have a lot of like respect and responsibility. But if your Saturn is afflicted in any way, that could indicate disgrace or ruin, because many of the best astrologers describe Saturn as the author of mischief, the number one mischief maker, and like we were talking about last week a little bit, Longo equated Saturn to Loki. Loki, definitely a mischief maker. Saturn is the number one malefic, the greater malefic, always there to mess things up. But Jupiter does great in the 10th. Venus does great in the 10th. The sun does great in the 10th. Mars, not so much. You might, if you have a Mars in the 10th, you'll be most known for martial things that might make good warriors, good soldiers. Certainly a combative public nature is what Mars would indicate there.
Yeah. Mars conjunct your MC is a sure mark of a fighter or a soldier or an athlete. But yeah, so 10th house, career. It's what's at the top, right? And this skyscrapers, like people tend to go in the offices for work and they go up high, right? That's probably the highest, most altitude they get all year or all day is when they go to work, right? There's this feeling that you need to go up with professionalism. But okay. 11th house. What do you got? Community? Friends. Yeah, friends.
Good
Friends, community, network. 11th house is essentially people you choose to hang out with, choose to spend time with, that aren't brothers, aren't parents, aren't, co-workers, or, students, classmates. 11th house is kind of who you choose to surround yourself with independently. And Aquarius rules independence and individuality. And that shows up in the 11th house because these are largely decisions you choose to make yourself. Like when you join a club because no one was making you join it, you just wanted to join it. That's the 11th house. That's showing up in the 11th house. If you are one of those people who say, oh man, I just want a tribe, like I don't care about my family or my friends. Like I want a tribe that I can get land with and like-minded people. That's 11th house. You're kind of fantasizing or fixating on your 11th house there when you just want a tribe, what do you think, Merlin?
Yeah, the 11th house was known as the good demon or daemon, which they called the 11th. The 11th and 12th are both daemons or spirits. The 11th is good, the 12th is the bad daemon. So like the 11th house is the house of blessings. It is the rejoice of Jupiter. Jupiter loves being here. Like Longo was saying, it's friendships, it's benefactors, it's people who help you out, right? So again, if the second house is the house of wealth compared to the self, right? In the first house, the second house is wealth. Well, then the 10th is your career. The 11th are your friends who can help you with your career, right? This is your benefactors, people who help you directly or indirectly behind the scenes, maybe. Like this is associated with freedom, confidence, goodwill, all these different things. Like the 11th house is by far the house that can help you out the most in your endeavors. That's where you're going to get aid from others the most, is the 11th house. So like what Longo's comparison with the tribe is exactly it, because your tribe can assist you when you need it. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, networking. You ever see like frat bros who are just like locked in on networking mode? They're just going from like Applebee's function to Chipotle work, fundraiser. Like they're just going fundraiser to function to open house to networking. That's 11th house too. It doesn't have to be like a hippie tribe. It doesn't have to be. It's basically seeking people out, congregating based on individual interests, like interest based pursuits.
Yes, 100%.
I go LARPing with my friends on the weekend. No one made you do that but you. No one made you do that but you. That's like the 11th house. But they say we don't choose family, right? You don't choose your coworkers. You don't choose your classmates. 11th house is who you choose to spend time with. Cheers. Let the black drink flow.
Yeah, it's again, benefactors. So, and again, bene is good. It's the most beneficial house. It was known as the house of good fortune. It was the good demon, also the house of buon fortuna, the good fortune. All and again, like how much of a true blessing is our friends, right? Like good friends are a true blessing, and that's what this house is all about.
All right. 11th house also, if we want to just focus on some of the Aquarius influences, innovation, genius, invention, revolution, or revolutionary ideals. All right. 12th house.
Yeah, no, Aquarius is also a co-significator, because Aquarians are quite humanitarian. They help others a lot. So There you go too.
12th house, enemies. Interesting. Okay. Enemies, for sure. 12th house, if I had to choose one word, illusion is the word that I would choose. The house of illusion. In the 12th house, we see drugs. We see a little bit of addiction. We see dependency on things, drugs, substances. We see suicide. We see a lot of things that what they all boil down to, what brings them all in common is illusion. Illusion. But enemies, explain that for us, Merlin.
Well, this house is known as the House of Hidden Enemies. It's also strongly
Hidden
associated.
keyword.
Yes, yeah. So you get your public enemies in the 7th, but your
Right.
hidden enemies are in the 12th. If you have an active 12th house, you'll have hidden enemies that just come out of the woodwork sometimes. It's also, if you consult old astrology books, they almost always say if you have Mars or Saturn here or Uranus, there's a strong chance of imprisonment. It's a
Yeah.
house of solitude, right? So like you may not be in actual prison, but then you may be quite lonely as well. The 12th house is the joy of Saturn, right? The greater malefic. So if you have Saturn in the 12th, you may suffer a lot from melancholy. Just it's also the house of self-undoing. It's a very terrible house. It's the bad demon, the house of bad fortune. And again, like we all have a 12th house. And like Longo was saying, it's illusions because like what's a worse illusion to fall for than not believing in yourself, right? Letting yourself undo yourself, letting yourself fall into these traps. So like I think it all connects, really.
We got some tips here. Jofi is flame with the 420. Fire number. Thank you. Says great work, boys. And an honest doubter with $5 says, doesn't all this just embolden the false ego self narrative? Gives it some kind of fated trajectory when it's just a bundle of cultural thoughts? I don't see it like that at all. I never understood the people who say like, I don't like astrology because it removes individuality. Like Leos often hate astrology because they love themselves. So I see it the other way around. When you study astrology, you start to separate what you think is you and what's you just unconsciously acting out, leaning into your astrological archetype. And I said this in a previous show. The people who are most individual and shine and just excel are the people who lean into their zodiac the most. You'd think that you're robbing yourself of individuality by saying, well, I'm just one of 12, like, and we're speaking about tribes, like this is my tribe, like Sagittarians, like we all think alike no matter what, black, white, Marxist, it's pattern recognition to the highest degree, because you're actually going behind every false layer of reality. And astrology is what's the truest. So I appreciate your comment. I see what you mean. And I don't know if I'm explaining it perfectly, but you're essentially saying, number one, it could be bad because it's deterministic, right? Like your life's already made out. But you say the false ego false ego or false self narrative. I don't see it as that. I see people who know nothing about astrology as people who have a false sense of individuality. For example, we're already pretty late, but how about this? The people who man, my analogy is not going to work. It's not a good analogy for your question. But Merlin, do you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, it's not a bundle of cultural thoughts because throughout time, every culture has recognized Mars as the planet of war, Saturn as a malefic. Was Saturn somewhat viewed differently by different cultures? Yeah, like it's often respected, like you respect Saturn, but it is a malefic. Venus is a benefic. Venus, Jupiter especially, was a fortunate, lucky star. Like these things aren't cultural perspective. Astrology really is peering into God's intelligent design. like the ascendant, the midheaven, the DC, the IC. These things cross culturally, people reach the same conclusions over years or lifetimes of close, laborious, careful study of the stars. Because like astrology, you got to understand, it's like part astronomy. It's like, okay, where are the stars? What signs are they in? And then, I mean, planets, whatever. And then, okay, the astrology is what are the effects of that? And it really is a science, meaning a knowledge, and it's a beautiful knowledge. Can you do it incorrectly? Absolutely. I think most modern astrology is hogwash, bullshit, garbage. The psychological, post Alan Leo Theosophical Society influenced astrology is terrible. If you talk to an atheist astrologer, they're probably going to lead you astray, with some of that. Oh, it's all good, it's all good. But like Longo was saying, and it's really knowing yourself. I truly think to know your angles is to know your angels and to know yourself. And it can show you like a true, like you can lie to yourself so easily and be like, oh no, this isn't where I'm weak. But if you understand your chart, you can truly learn your weaknesses and your strengths. And then you can, like Longo was saying, you can lean into how God designed you, like what you were put here to do. You can rise to the occasion by learning your strengths, learning your weaknesses, and not falling into the traps, not falling into those weaknesses, playing against them, playing around them, because these are patterns that affect and influence us. But God gave us free will, and we can use that to our advantage if we understand and learn astrology and these angles and these angels.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, just to touch on the individuality thing, there are, like, let's look at the world, or I don't know. It's so hard to come up with a good analogy. You look at any business. Let's look at a warehouse. Okay, there's builders, there's people who work on the assembly line, there's people who work in the front office, there's people who do this. Okay, those are the roles. Those are like the jobs, like the occupations. Those occupations don't limit someone's individuality, right? So when we're talking about the signs of the zodiac, your sign is almost more like your occupation than yourself, like your truest, most individual self. You get to know, when you know astrology, you get the blessing of knowing what team you're actually on, like what your natural inclination is. In Roman times, they used to, at certain times, not always, they used to only hire or select judges born in Libra because they believed it was that predictable of a tendency, where Libras are just fair. Take 12 random people of different signs of the zodiac. The Libra, 9 times out of 10, is going to be the most impartial. Libras, it's like they can't help it. Libras often have a hard time having best friends because they're too honest and won't take their friend's side every time. It's hard becoming best friends with the Libra because the Libra is going to tell you, he's going to play devil's advocate to everything you say. If you try and vent to a Libra, it's annoying. They don't give you the satisfaction. They don't just take it and agree with you. They can't help it. If I go up to a Libra and I say, this fucking guy just cut me off in traffic, and the Libra's going to be like, well, how were you? What were you driving like? Did he see you coming? Did he? Well, we don't know what was going on in his day that day. They're immediately going to start defending the other side because they have that natural lawyer, judge, lawyer, attorney instinct. So Libras often don't have it might seem like or feel like they don't have your back because they cannot resist the urge to counter an argument because they see it as balance. They see it as fairness, you know? Go ahead.
Oh, I just saw a comment that was at like something I want to talk about a little bit. I've really want to talk about this for a while, but this guy Jewfish in chat just said, "This is why those who choose to have children really should look ahead in the chart and plan." And dude, I have so many thoughts on like astrological eugenics. And I do think there's a lot to it, truly, because if you study astrology and you're honest, like if you have an aspect, especially between Saturn and the sun, like Saturn conjunct sun, Saturn square sun, and Saturn opposite sun, almost every astrologer, or at least the good ones, will agree that those aspects can influence the parents of the native. Meaning, if you create a child and that child has a bad Saturn aspect, that could affect you theoretically, right? So it's like, and Saturn is the slowest moving planet, right? So, like, if you don't want a Saturn Sun conjunction, square, or opposition, okay, well, there's 4 months out of the year because Saturn spends so much time in one spot that it's easy to plan around. So, like, if you want to give, you can give a child a like, and this goes back to like how what you were talking about with the Bach saga, right? How they only let certain people procreate. Did they procreate astrologically?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that's like you can give your son a Saturn Sun trine or a Jupiter Sun trine and literally set them up for success. And I think that there's a lot to that.
Speaking of speaking of astrological eugenics, that might have to be the next show is racial astrology. Racial astrology. Dude. I love this stuff. No, it's good. It's not bad. It's good. Yeah, that'll be the next one. All astrology of the races, racial astrology.
Let's get canceled real quick. Let's go.
Yeah. But all right. Man, there's so much to talk about. But let's real quick before we close, let's talk about the planetary cycles and the speed at which each sign travels through this. Each planet travels through the sign of the zodiac.
Sure.
Yeah. So, do you have those written down?
I don't, but I know. I mean, we can go over it. I So like, we'll start with the sun. You know.
Well, let's start with this.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's start with the fastest moving planet. Start with the moon. Let's start with the ascendant, actually, since we're talking about houses. Remember, we were saying it's important to know the speed of a planet to know whether to focus on the sign or the house that planet's in. Well, the houses change, or the signs pass through the houses every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, and people say, "Oh, there's 12 signs of the zodiac. 24 hours in the day. Why is the 24? Well, 12 signs, 2 hours each. 24 hours. You could look at it like that if you want. But each house gets 2 hours. So the sun. Never mind.
No,
houses change every 2 hours. Go ahead.
Yeah, signs do. So like if Aries is in the first house, guys, right? 2 hours later, Aries, the sign, and all of the planets in it, sorry, are going to be, in the 12th house. And then, I'm like choking up. Nothing, that's crazy. I'm pausing, bro.
Damn, bro.
For a second.
Yo, Mossad, guys.
Mossad got me. Pray for me.
Dude, are you okay? Mossad's hitting him with that ghost on.
All right, we're good. So, yeah, every 2 hours, guys, everything is a clock, right? The whole thing is a clock and it moves clockwise that way, right? So, like whatever's in the first house, 2 hours later is going to be there and so on and so forth. And that's the sign and all of the planets in it. So that's just how the zodiac moves around us every day is 2 hours. The Vedic gods got me, bro. Indeed. That's what I get for talking shit about Indian astrology, man. We're cooked.
Someone said
We're
chew
cooked like they're
fish.
street food.
Well, here.
Ooh.
So we're talking about the houses, the signs, the houses, the signs pass through the houses every 2 hours. Okay. Now, when we go to, hang on. Let's go with the fast moving planets and work our way slower. Okay. Now, remember, astrology counts the sun and the moon as planets, and the moon is the fastest of them. And we talked a little bit about like the hare, the rabbit, and the turtle, the legend, the story, the myth, the fairy tale, whatever you want to call it, folklore. The gopher tortoise, I'm still studying this, okay? The hare represents the moon, and the moon moves really fast. The gopher tortoise, or the tortoise in general, I'm starting to think is God's calendar. 7-day week based. And the seasons are constantly moving around it, right? I'm starting to see this Enochian calendar in the turtle versus the rabbit story. But okay, topic for another time. The moon spends roughly 2.5 days in each sign of the zodiac. What's the exact?
It's about 56 hours, about 56 hours on average per sign. But it's, plus or minus 3 or 4 hours, depending.
Yeah. It's roughly 2.5 days, the moon. Now, Mercury spends about 3 to 4 weeks. Is that correct?
Well, Mercury is tied
weeks.
to the sun, so like maybe we should do sun next, because like Mercury and Venus are both tethered to the sun.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
We're gonna speed through these kind of, but moon 2.5 days in each sign. Mercury, more or less 2 to 3 weeks in each sign. Now Venus, 3 to 4 weeks. Mars 6 to 8 weeks. Now, and the sun, we skipped the sun. The sun, 30 days.
1 month per sign.
That's a month, or as we should call it, a sunth.
Mm-hmm.
A sunth, 30 days, solar year. So looking at the planets slower than the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and the sun. Well, moon, Mercury, Venus, we really want to look at the sign that they're in. The sign's going to tell us a ton. A ton. Anything that's faster than the sun, slower than the sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, you want to look at the house. And why is that? Because something that's moving, something that takes 6 to 8 weeks to go through the zodiac, everyone born within about 2 years of you is going to share the same Mars sign. Everyone born within 1 year of you is going to
Mars is going to share 2 months of you.
Sorry. Everyone that is born within 1 year of you, depending on where exactly what your Jupiter is, that's your Jupiter sign. Like your class, like when you graduate from high school, your high school class or the class that you had classmates in, that you don't share the same year always, but you're born within 1 year of each other, right? That's kind of your class is kind of like saying your Jupiter sign. Each class has its own personality, right? Oh, those eighth graders are so rambunctious this year. The seventh graders are very quiet, you know. It's the Jupiter sign showing up. So you're where Jupiter is, you share it with. There's some arguing. There's some screaming going on outside.
Oh man, the youths.
I don't know. Sounded black.
Oh, but yeah, Jupiter
said it.
spends 1 year per sign,
True.
guys.
Jupiter 1 year per sign. Saturn about 2.5 years in each sign. And so the full cycle there, Jupiter 12 years to go through the whole zodiac. Saturn 29, roughly 29 and some change years to go through the whole zodiac. That's almost double, you know. That's more than double.
Yeah.
So if you share a sign, a planet in a house with everyone born within 2 years of you, how much is that really telling you about yourself? Not much. And if what it is telling you about yourself is also going to be true for everyone born within a year or two of you. So that's why with the slow moving planets, you really want to focus on the house. It's much more personal. It's pinpointing that energy. The signs are too. Yeah.
Yeah, like
That's basically
everyone born around like the time you were born and like in the year or the couple years for Saturn, in the year in the case of Jupiter, you're gonna have the same Jupiter sign as everyone else, the same Saturn sign as everyone else, but you will have a different house for Saturn, a different house for Jupiter than most people. And then also because the moon, sun, Mercury, and Venus are in different spots, you're going to have different aspects to and from those planets for those slow moving signs. So what he's getting at is that the houses and the aspects are really what's going to differentiate you and those outer planets from your peers, essentially.
And yeah, and when we talk about generations, you know, we might be talking about Uranus cycle, Neptune cycle, maybe even the Pluto cycle. That's what, you know, Robert Phoenix believes. The Robert Phoenix, I think, is pretty big on Pluto being the determining planet of like generation, like Gen X, Gen Z, you know. But yeah, and that's because you share that placement with everyone born within 7 or, you know, with Uranus, I think it's 7 years.
Yeah,
Neptune
7
is
years
within
per sign.
14 years. And with Pluto, it's, what is it, 15 to 30. It could be 30 years, you know, or it has this very elliptical orbit. So they say, right? Vedic astrologers can tell us all about that elliptical orbit. We'd love to learn about that elliptical orbit from the Vedic astrologers with their big gay gangbang solar system. But so that's why, sorry to rush through those. I guess we took a lot more time at the beginning than we thought.
We're ranting about Vedic for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. If you put all this together, you'll have a good understanding of when to focus on the sign or the house. And the speed of the planet is going to help you with that. If it's a very fast moving planet, faster than the sun, focus on the house. Sorry, focus on the sign. If it is a slow moving planet, slower than the sun, focus on the house. And with the sun, I'd put them in sign. I'd put this focus on the sun sign. The house will tell you a bit about the sun, but I think it's really the sign that matters with the sun. Sun sign. So yeah. All right. Anything else, Merlin?
No, that was a lot of good house knowledge. I think we touched on what we wanted to talk about. That's pretty good.
Awesome. So next episode, we're either going to do racial astrology, or what else? What else could we maybe do?
Ooh, I say we sleep on it and think about it. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different, a lot of like
Yeah.
we'll think about what's next.
I think your
Um,
job would like you to sleep on it and think on it. I'm just kidding. Not really.
yeah, someone
It
in
won't
chat.
be it won't be a a bad topic. Like, it's not going to be denigrating, I promise.
Oh yeah, oh dude, definitely, yeah. Like, bro, let's, as long as it's not denigrating, we're good. But someone in chat asked long ago, are we in the age of Aquarius yet? I'm not long ago, but no, we're still in the age of Pisces. It's based, you can either, now the Indians, some of them, they actually base their ages off of the autumnal equinox, thus they think we're in the age of Virgo. But if you're basing your ages off of the vernal or spring equinox, we are still in the 7th degree of Pisces. So we still have 300 or like 400 years of Pisces to go before we actually hit the age of Aquarius. And we're not
Yeah.
cusping yet. Like, there's no, the whole age of Aquarius thing is something that, once again, was just brought up by heliocentric nonsense, by people misconceiving the signs for the constellations and going, oh, there's Aquarius, or it's no, we're not in the age of Aquarius at all. And the age of Aquarius will be known as the age of the Son of Man. And in the Bible, it says there will be a time when you desire to see the age of the Son of Man, and you will not see it. We're not in the age of Aquarius yet.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We're on the, we're feeling the beginnings of the age of Aquarius. We're stuck in the cusp. We have been stuck in cusp, I think, for 50 years. That's my view. And there might be another 50 years of cusp, with a 2,160 year cycle, or 2,000 years segments of a greater 25,000 year cycle. Cusp can be pretty big, that notch on the clock is multiple seconds, right? The black line between 1 and 2, or whatever it is. That's kind of where we are right now. And also, the cusp that is the most kind of wish-washy, kind of blurred line is the Aquarius Pisces cusp. And in the year, that's the same cusp that's like, people don't know what to do with it. Leap year is over there on that week, between Pisces and Aquarius. So in the year, that's the cusp that's kind of the weirdest too. Pisces starts like 2 days earlier than all the other signs in terms of the month, because of this leap year thing. There's 2 or 3 less days on average in that month, and that pulls the cusp of Pisces forward a little bit. Not really, because the zodiac is evenly spaced, but in terms of our months, it is just kind of an iffy or more blurred cusp. It's not as perfectly defined as the cusp between Aries and Pisces is. The shift between Pisces and Aries is a lot more dramatic than the shift between Aquarius and Pisces, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And like, we can talk about the your thoughts, dude. That was such a great thought on the 6,000 year cycle, dude. Like, we can bring that up at some point too, because there's a lot of evidence for that. And also, when it comes to ages too, what I've heard and what does make a little bit of sense, or at least it could be true, is that the precession of the equinoxes don't actually progress at the same rate for the whole 24 or 25,000 years. And that's why it might actually be a 24,000 year cycle, because it might speed up or slow down at certain points, which is, I think, very interesting. And there's been some evidence recorded of that.
That would make sense with the analemma too.
Yeah.
It's a figure 8, but but both sides of the figure eight are not the same size. That's also kind of the fish symbol, is the analemma.
Yeah.
Anal Emma.
Anal Emma. Anal enema.
Em-
Oh no.
If you got any Emmas out there, hit me up. Just kidding. But yeah. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you got some good info out of this. I think we're going to do racial astrology next episode, but who knows? We'll sit on it, we'll think, and we'll see what happens.
Can't wait. Let's get it.
Everyone have a good night. Go check out Wise Wizard Merlin on YouTube if you haven't already. Give me one sec. Oops.
If you're into outer space deceptions, you might like my my latest video.
Boom. All right, guys. Go subscribe to Merlin's channel. Wise with a Z. Wise Wizard Merlin. Go give him a subscription, a subscribe if you haven't already. And while you're over there, go check out the Dr. Longo channel. Oh, fuck. Dr. Walter Longo. Hell no. Sorry, buddy. You're going to be second place for life.
Yo,
You
he's
made the
live
mistake
right
of
now.
being... No, that's me.
I know.
The other Dr. Longo, though, Dr. Walter Longo. We carry his books at the bookstore, which is funny.
Really?
Dr. Walter Longo. Sorry, man. Wrong life. Wrong time to be born, buddy. You're going to be second your whole life to me. Sorry.
Is he a real doctor though? I don't know.
He's a real doctor. He's a real Longo. He's an actual like longevity expert, which is funny. Like
really?
longevity. Yeah. And listen, buddy, you're welcome for like half of your fall. You know, half the people clicking on your fucking videos probably think they're me, but
He looks
sorry.
like you.
No, he doesn't. Don't say that. Don't say that. All right. Well, shout out to him. He's actually pretty cool from what I've heard, Dr. Walter Longo. But also, guys, go subscribe to my channel, Dr. Narco Longo. Go subscribe if you haven't already. I'll drop it in the chat. And that's also, I'll drop Merlin's in the chat.
Yeah, you guys should collab with the other Longo.
I should maybe hit him up. I don't think he'll probably won't be that. He'll probably be a little upset that it's my fake name and I'm not actually a doctor, but
it might run overtime and be an extra Longo stream though.
Maybe. Well, here we got some comments too. Soon Mean with 10,000 whatever they are.
Yen.
More one
maybe.
for you. Question: if born with Taurus ascendant for X, what? Then,
for example,
then Cancer is third house, but third house is ruled by Mercury. Hang on.
So Taurus ascendant, Cancer is third house. Well, then your third house will be ruled by the moon. Mercury is a co-significator of the third house, but whatever sign the third house cusp is, the planet that rules that is the ruler of the third house. So for your third house, for your siblings, you'd want to look at how your moon is affected by other aspects of planets, what sign the moon is in. If the moon is in a happy house or a sad house for the moon, like if the moon is in the 12th house, that would indicate probably maybe the brothers might backstab you at some point, stuff like that. So like, let's see. So if Mars is in the third house, Cancer, that's ruled by the moon or Mercury, yeah, the moon's the ruler of your third house if Cancer is your third house, to answer that question succinctly.
Yep. Thank you for the 10,000 Juan. Hell yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, see, the third house is always ruled by Mercury. What he was talking about before is the first house. Each house can have a ruler, but you're only really concerned with that if there's no planet in that house. Essentially. So your third house is always ruled, like the third house is always ruled by Mercury. Your third house would be ruled by, and I don't even think like this. I only really worry about rulers of the first house. I don't even compute empty houses. Fuck them. Just, keep it moving. But yeah, hope that explains. The ruler of the third house is always Mercury. Your third house would, I guess, would be determined by what sign is lined up with your fourth house cusp. Rob T R2D with a thanks. Yeah, you're gonna make me read this one out loud. YouTube's gonna be thrilled about that. $10. He says racial astrology. Let me guess. White stars create masterpiece. Dark stars ruin and eat each other. Or curly sideburns stars convince white stars they were promised the masterpiece and enslave whites. I think he meant to say convinces black stars they were promised the masterpiece and enslave whites, or other way around. But okay, that's funny. Thanks for your support. Jofi is Flame says, do you still offer paid chart readings? Yes, I do. Chart readings. Hit me up on Instagram. DM me on Instagram and say, I'd like a chart reading. I do $100 for 100 and... Wait, no, that's not right. I do $100 for an hour and 15 minutes. $100, hour and 15 minutes. It's a chart reading plus a personal lesson.
And that's a good rate too, guys. Like some astrologers charge way more than that, and they're far less knowledgeable. So just a heads up.
Totally. And Merlin, are you accepting readings?
Not
accepting
yet.
Clients?
I will be soon. I'm still working on my website, so when that's ready, it'll be ready. But I'm not yet.
Okay.
Appreciate it though.
All right, guys. Go subscribe to Merlin. Go subscribe to Dr. Narco Longo YouTube channel. Don't listen to Vedic astrology. Don't listen to the sidereal BS. Just trust the tropical. Trust the tropical. It's biblical astrology. Tropical is biblical. Vedic is street food, poop stuck under the fingernails, poops all over the place. Okay, it's poop astrology is Vedic astrology. And what else? They only fell for that shit because they don't have seasons in India. Okay. That's why they fell for it so hard. Because like there's like no seasons, or like 5 seasons. They don't have seasons the same as other places. So it was easy for them to fall for this nonsense. But okay. Peace, everyone. Have a good night.
Yep. Wild Indian, yeah.
Hey V, line them up.
I'm a wild Indian, you know I go crazy. Ain't really Indian, that boy fugazi. I just keep it player, you can never play me. You got an ass so fat, girl, let's make a baby. And another one. Then I'm back to the trap, I'm trying to double some. She a bad woke chick and I love her tongue. We some jurisdiction boys, we some 101s. Look, don't compare me to no Martin, dog. I'm like Malcolm X. Die about our freedom, we'll leave a crack and stretch. Round of applause, boy, you know we clapping text. Chucky dog, child's play, yeah, nigga, that's what's next. Open up the cans just like Arizona. Pull up masked up like we got the Rona. We set up jurisdictions when we buy the corner. How you claiming that's your hood and you not the owner? Be the B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. Whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep a Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the shit.
Like my niggas said, bitch, we the shit. I can't keep the peace. If it pop off, then I want a piece. I'm just on release. I'm in go mode, motherfuck the thief. In these streets like EBT, when we at war, make peace with me. I don't give a damn, understand. Fuck who stole this land, white or black or tan. Understand, it's fuck who stole this land. Might have seen me get a little buddy these hands. He wasn't no abo man. A lot of these dudes is Sambo man. They full of shit like my ammo can. What they call an N-word out the wrong mouth, that's an ambulance. Wild Indian, get it in advance, or you can post dated. Ask around, I'm the most hated. Straight sacred, they stole acreage. Go ape shit, show ain't shit. It won't be televised, I don't tape shit.
Be the B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. Whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep a Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the shit.